Yeah. It's your boy, Tone DeShields II. And you guys are locked in on your dose of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I appreciate you guys for always locking in on the content. It's been an eventful weekend in the football world, has it not? The NFL draft is finally behind us, and now we get to look at the freshmen. We get to look at the new bodies making their way into the Philadelphia Eagles hemisphere, and I'm super excited to talk about it with you guys. We have so much to discuss. We have so much to review, so much to get into, but y'all know what to do. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, especially if you're new. I can't tell you how many times people say they love the content, but then when I ask them, are you subscribed? Are you hitting that like button? They say, let me check. And so often they are not subscribed. So often they are forgetting to hit that like button. So please, don't be one of those people. Smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the show, especially if you like the vibes, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see. Let's have some fun today, y'all. And on top of that, make sure you hit the notification bell once you subscribe, right? It's going to let you know whenever I go live. All the people that's here right now, I'm sure you guys got that notification bell on because you know that we go live. You've known it came to your iPhone, it came to your Android, it came to your Palm Pilot. I'm taking it back. It came to your BlackBerry, whatever it came to it. And you're here. And we're going to have a good time. I'm always grateful to be here with you guys. Got to start the show with gratitude. Got to always start it out with this. Like I said, we had an amazing weekend, and I'm so glad that I saw so many faces, saw so many of your guys' names in the live chat. You guys were so active. I appreciate you guys for showing a lot of love. On Thursday, we were live for 4+ hours, 4.5 hours to be exact. Friday, we were live 4.5 hours again. On Saturday, we were live for about 3.5 hours, and then we migrated to the Philly 500 and Joey Shake's Philly Shakedown live stream. And I was over there live for about an hour and a half. And so many of you guys probably came to this channel, came to this show because you first saw me on there. So shout out to Philly 500. Shout out to Joey Shakes for showing me a lot of love, giving me the opportunity to grace their platform. Want to give a shout out to my man Pro Fan Talk as well. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel. He's a good dude. He showed a lot of love on Thursday, came through and held it down as my co-host as we covered the NFL draft day one, the first round. And it was super duper exciting to be here with him, crushing it, reacting to these picks. And we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, man. We had fun all weekend, right? A lot of y'all called in. Shout out to my loyal guys, S Blunt. Shout out to Corey. Shout out to my man Infamous 2K. Well, he's going by Infamous 5K these days. But overall, I'm grateful to all you guys who really have been consistent, showing love every single day. Smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the show. Make sure the notification bell is hit. And y'all know we're about to get busy. So let's get into it. Enough with the pleasantries. So the Philadelphia Eagles made off like bandits on draft weekend. Let's talk about who they brought in, right? You guys can see at the bottom here, we have a ticker going on. You guys can see all the draft picks that they accumulated, all the guys they brought in throughout the 3 days of the draft. And we're going to even get into the undrafted guys they brought in, right? And we're going to break it down and we're going to evaluate those guys together. So let's get right into it. Let's start out with first round pick, Quinyon Mitchell. Now, bringing in Quinyon Mitchell was a shocker because we knew if we wanted to bring in a legitimate corner from this draft, we were going to have to trade up for him. That was the mindset, right? We told ourselves, if we want one of these guys, we're going to have to trade up. And lo and behold, the way the draft fell, that didn't actually have to happen at all. The Philadelphia Eagles actually were able to stay put. They were able to stand pat. And the player that they wanted fell right to them in Quinyon Mitchell. Now, if you ask me, Quinyon Mitchell, he's going to be a day one starter. It's no question about it. When you draft a guy that high at pick 22, first round, at corner, and he was the number one corner on mostly everyone's draft board, best believe you got to play that guy day one. There's not going to be any warming up or grooming period. All that's going to be done in training camp in the preseason. Quinyon Mitchell, I hope you're ready to play, my man, because a lot of people have been down on you. Not me, but a lot of people have been down on Quinyon Mitchell because of the conference he played in, coming out of Toledo, a smaller school. Now, granted, it was still in the FBS. He was still going up against FBS level competition. He wasn't in the FCS, right? He was competing, right? He matched up with Marvin Harrison, had a great game against him. So, like I said, even though Quinyon Mitchell came from a smaller program, came from a program that wasn't as revered as those Power 5 conferences, you got to give credit where credit is due because the eyes don't lie. The evaluations don't lie. A player of that caliber, the athleticism, the physicality he has at the line of scrimmage, the physicality he has at the catch point, the strong hands, the quick feet, the fluid movement in the hips, the instincts. That brother could have went to any school. Full ride. Quinyon Mitchell didn't have to stay at Toledo, but he decided to stay there because that's where the loyalty was. Those were the relationships that he nurtured and cultivated. He could have easily went to Alabama. You heard Nick Saban say it. He was the number one player they were targeting in the transfer portal. And Quinyon Mitchell didn't even fix his clicker to go into the transfer portal. He stayed. He stayed at Toledo because those were the people that believed in him. Those were the people that didn't abandon him when he struggled coming out of high school. Because of his grades, he had to wait a little bit. A lot of teams backed off of him. Toledo stayed the course, and he became the player he was at Toledo, and he became a first-round pick out of Toledo. As a matter of fact, he became the number one cornerback prospect despite playing in the MAC conference, despite playing at Toledo. So you got to give credit where credit is due. That's the kind of stuff that transcends the white lines. You know, with Nil popping these days, you know he was getting bags thrown at him left and right. You know he was. But you know what he said to John Clark? Shout out to him for getting this out of him via NBC Sports. He said this to John Clark. Relationships mean a lot more to me than money. The people that believed in me from the beginning mean a lot more to me than money. That's going to come. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. The money will come. But relationships, your network, that's foundational. Money comes, money goes. But when you when you do right by people, when you put your best foot forward and people can trust you, oh yeah, networks, relationships, they stand the test of time. That's invaluable. You can't put a price tag on that. You can't put a price tag on somebody who put the battery in your back and believed in you. You can't do it. So I commend Quinyon Mitchell for staying the course at Toledo. And again, personality aside, character aside, from top to bottom, he was a clean prospect, top to bottom. Did well at the combines. He excelled at the combines, ran a 4.33 40 time. Went crazy at the bench press. Had a really good 10-yard split. He showed out at the Senior Bowl, aced all the drills. From top to bottom, he was a clean prospect. And then you throw in the character, oh man, it's perfect. But his school, the conference he played in, how will he fare against NFL level competition? He didn't play against that many guys in the SEC, if at all. So how will he fare against NFL level competition? I think he'll be fine. Now, I'm not saying he will be this player. I'm not saying this is who he is, but I'm saying Sauce Gardner played in Cincinnati. And he didn't play in the SEC, which is the closest you'll get to NFL level competition. So I say that to say, don't let your eyes fool you. Don't let the school and all the theatrics around it, don't let that fool you. What do your eyes tell you? Chad Ochocinco, he got eyes. He played the wide receiver position. He know what a good corner looks like. Shannon Sharp, Hall of Fame tight end. They know what good corners look like. Top to bottom, clean prospect, smooth in and out of his breaks. Footwork, tremendous. Knows where to go. Patient. So I think he's gonna be a hell of a player for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't want to spend too much time on Quinyon Mitchell because we talked about him a lot over the weekend. You know, as we get deeper into the live stream, we're going to get more entrenched in the later draft picks. But Quinyon Mitchell, you got to start the show with him. Number one draft pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. Got to give credit where credit is due to Howie Roseman for staying the course, not overreacting to the draft board, not reaching, and he fell on your lap. So shout out to Howie Roseman. Shout out to the front office for staying patient, staying the course, and allowing your prospect to come to you, because if it was meant, it was meant. And the football gods had it where it was so. Now, as far as his time on the field, how will that look? I think James Bradberry, that's done. I think James Bradberry will be cut by the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that's a foregone conclusion. You don't draft a guy like that and Quinyon Mitchell and say, we're going to have you sit or we're going to put you in the slot. Hell no. Your whole plan is to move on from James. I'm pretty sure James is already getting his affairs in order. I don't mean no disrespect. But like my man S. Blunt said, Quinyon Mitchell got next. Hey, throw me the rock, OG. Throw me the rock. It's just that simple. But overall, let's transition to our next prospect here. In Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean. Like Dijon mustard. Cooper DeJean. Shout out to him. You know, it's so interesting, right? Cooper DeJean was projected to be a first-round pick. He had first-round talent. I don't think that was a debate. But as you saw throughout the NFL draft, he wasn't the only player that had first-round talent or that was projected to be a first-round pick. He wasn't the only one that fell in that draft. I think the DT, Jersey Newton or Johnny Newton, he fell into the second round. So what I'm trying to tell you is don't let him falling out of the first round shake or make or break you, or don't let it shake you. For the first time in NFL history, the first 14 picks in the NFL draft were offensive players. They either were quarterbacks, wide receivers, or offensive linemen. That's where the league is going. It's a passing league. Teams are investing their highest draft picks on the top-tier talent at quarterback, receiver, and O-line. And then they're going to draft their defensive guys on the back end. This was the most clear-cut draft that we've seen that. And I think this is a trend that's going to maintain itself. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes beyond 14 picks in next year's draft, depending on the offensive draft class, obviously, unless there's a transcendent player on defense. But I honestly think where the NFL is going, this isn't going to be the first time we see the first 10 or first 14 or maybe the first 15 or 16 picks be offensive players. But it will all be dependent if there's a transcendent player on defense. If you're not transcendent or they don't believe you to be transcendent, or if there's a player that they feel like is up to par with you or maybe a little less, but he's on offense, they're going to pull the trigger on the offensive guy. Again, you have to be transcendent at this point to be drafted high on defense. And this draft class showed you that. But Cooper DeJean fell out of the first round, and I think it was mainly because of the way the board fell with teams focusing on offense. Nonetheless, he fell in the second round, and the Philadelphia Eagles traded up and got their man. They moved some picks around. They traded up and traded back with the Washington Commanders so they can trade up to the 40th overall pick, and they got Cooper DeJean. So the Philadelphia Eagles found a way to leave the first 2 days of the draft. They found a way to leave draft weekend with two of the top cornerback or DB prospects in this draft class. They found a way to leave with Quinyon Mitchell. They found a way to leave with Cooper DeJean in the same draft class. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? I don't know how the NFL let that happen. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Quinyon Mitchell was on many draft boards. The bulk of draft boards, he was the #1 cornerback prospect, despite playing at Toledo, despite playing in the MAC conference. Cooper DeJean, he was a top 3 DB prospect, a top 3 cornerback prospect, rather. You put him in that same group with Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, then Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Nate Higgins. So I think the top 2 prospects de facto were Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold, and everybody else was kind of floating in that 3, 4, 5 range. But a lot of people felt like Cooper DeJean was the best DB or the best corner. Some people felt like he was second. Some people felt like he was third. Some people felt like he was 4th or 5th. But the bottom line is the Philadelphia Eagles found a way to leave the draft with 2 of the top 5 cornerback prospects in the draft. And all 5 of them had potential to go first round. So when you think about Cooper DeJean and what he brings to the table, because if you ask me, when I look at him with the physical traits, the size, the way he moves, I see a safety to me, or a hybrid guy, a guy that's going to bounce back and forth between that safety spot, that nickel spot. I think Cooper DeJean is a weapon on defense. I think Cooper DeJean is a player that you just tell him, hey, I need you here, 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 here. Him, her, him, her, him, her. Shout out to my man Franklin off Snowfall. But I think Cooper DeJean is a player you could just use him all over the board. I don't see how the league allowed the Eagles to leave a defensive weapon like that. I think Vic Fangio is going to have a field day with a player like that. You're going to see Cooper DeJean being moved around like what's the corner in Kansas City? What's the corner in KC that they move around a lot? Trent McDuffie. You're going to see Cooper DeJean being moved around like a Trent McDuffie. Spags uses Trent McDuffie like a weapon. You don't just see Trent McDuffie playing outside corner. Sometimes you see him in the slot. Sometimes you see him close to the line of scrimmage. Sometimes they use him in blitz packages. They use Trent McDuffie all over the field because he's that dude in that defense. I think Cooper DeJean can be that player for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, here's the difference between the 2 players. Trent McDuffie's a smaller guy, but Cooper DeJean over 6 feet, or he's 6 feet flat, 203 pounds. Trent McDuffie, on the other hand, 5'10", 193 pounds. So you give me Cooper DeJean, a guy who has 10 more pounds on Trent McDuffie, has a few more inches as far as height on Trent McDuffie, just a physical specimen. What do you think he's going to do? And he has the same speed, if not better, the same level of athleticism, if not better. So Trent McDuffie, by all counts, can be the most dynamic player on the Philadelphia Eagles defense because of his versatility, because of his unique physical traits. But I don't think he's your standard outside corner. I don't believe that about Cooper DeJean. And I'm not saying that as a slight to him. I feel like he's so much more dynamic. I don't want him just playing outside. I want him anywhere the ball is. I want to be able to manipulate the quarterback's eyes. I don't want the quarterback to know where he is. I want the quarterback to feel lost. Cooper DeJean's over there. Oh, he's over there. He's over there. What's that? What's that in the sky? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Oh, it's Cooper DeJean. And then he's playing next to CJ, a guy that plays with the edge, a guy that plays with the ski mask mentality. The Eagles' DB room just got a boost. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay. The DB room just got injected with the super soldier serum. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They just hit the Eagles defense with gamma rays. Chevy, help me understand. You tell me I want so much. Make it make sense, player. We're going to get to these live chats, by the way. But Chevy Blake, make it make sense for me, sis. Make it make sense. You say I want so much. Explain that. You got to explain that. You can't just speak and not explain. We hold people accountable over here. You're not new. You're not new. Yeah, he's 6 feet. Okay. Trevor Keegan is 5'10", 193. Cooper DeJean, 6 feet. 203 pounds. That's a 10-pound difference. That's a 10-pound. Hey, listen, you feel a 10-pound difference. I see your picture. You're gonna feel a 10-pound difference if you add it on. Because Chevy, you look right. But if you add 10 pounds, you're gonna feel it. I know you are. If y'all don't know, Chevy's a woman, by the way. If y'all don't know, Chevy's a woman. You'll never catch me slipping. Woo-wee! Breathe Blankenship. Move over. Move over. It's a new white chocolate in town. Move over. So yeah, I think Cooper DeJean is going to have a really, really interesting rookie season. I could really see Vic Fangio using him in a lot of different ways because of the versatility, but I don't think he's your standard outside corner. I think he can do a lot more than that. And I don't think they should limit him to just being an outside corner. But I do want to transition to the next draft pick. Their third-round draft pick in Jalyx Hunt, edge rusher / linebacker out of Houston Christian University. Who the hell has heard of Houston Christian University? I don't mean no disrespect, Jalyx. I don't mean no disrespect, big dog. I'm a Christian myself, and I don't live but so far from Houston. But the good brother, I don't know who to ask. I don't know who to point to, but have you heard of Houston Christian? Christian. I've never heard of Houston Christian, but y'all, we've heard of Jalyx Hunt today. We've heard of him. And he's a fascinating prospect for this reason alone. Jalyx Hunt wasn't an edge rusher originally. He was a DB. He was a safety. At Cornell, I believe it was, he was a safety at Cornell, which is an HBCU. I think Cornell was HBCU. I may be wrong. Or I may be right. Let me see. I may be wrong. I may be right. But my point is, Jalyx Hunt had to get it out the mud, had to get it from the muscle. And when you look at him, you say to yourself, no way he used to be a DB. No way. But you got to say to yourself, okay, why transition? Cornell's Ivy League. That's what it is. Ivy League. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Big Pickin'. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so it is HBCU, but it's Ivy League HBCU. Got you guys. Got it. So, Houston Christian used to be Houston Baptist. Hallelujah. But he's a unique prospect, formerly played DB and transitioned to edge rusher and edge rusher, quasi linebacker. And he had to put on a lot of weight. Khalil Wilson, you're a very good point. He's a wild card. He's a wild card. But Jalyx Hunt came into the draft 6'4", 6'5", 252 pounds. I love the measurables. I absolutely love the measurables at 6'4", just over 250 pounds. I love it. He brings that athleticism from being a slimmer guy to being a bulkier guy. He ran a 4.64 40 at that size with a 1.6 second 10-yard split, a 37.5-inch vertical, almost 83-inch wingspan. He has a ton of athleticism. He has a ton of natural athletic gifts. And he transitions to the edge rusher role late. But he's going to be a little bit of a developmental piece. He's going to be a little bit of a project. Because he's not a natural edge rusher, because he's going to have to add to his pass rushing repertoire, especially being in the NFL with those top tier left and right tackles, he's going to have to bring it. But I will say this player just reeks of a Vic Fangio type of pick, does it not? Because he brings those DB tools to the edge rusher outside or off-ball linebacker position. And he's the kind of guy that you can rush. He's so athletic. He's so gifted. You can send him to rush the passer. You can tell him to drop back in coverage. He brings a lot to the table, but he still has a lot to learn. But I think being with a guy like Vic Fangio, being with Clint Hurt, being with Jeremiah Washburn, it's going to be up to those three gentlemen to get this kid up to speed. One of the first things he said to Nick Sirianni, he said, "Coach, where's the playbook? I need to get my hands on that ASAP." So for him to transition from DB to edge rusher, off-ball linebacker, you had to be a student of the game. You had to be a student. Coaches don't trust you to make that transition if you're not dedicated to the craft. So the upside of a Jalyx Hunt with that size, with that DB and newly acquired edge rusher mentality and skill set, his upside could be tremendous if he can figure it out, if they can find a way to maximize that player, if they can bring the best out of Jalyx Hunt. He's surrounded with a plethora of coaches to lean on. He's surrounded with a plethora of guys to learn from. He can learn his pass rush skills from a guy like Josh Sweat. He already comes with coverage skills because he played the DB position. But he really made his bread and butter or earned his bread and butter as an edge rusher or off-ball linebacker. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how he transitions to the NFL. It's going to be fascinating to witness his development in real time. I'm curious to see how the Philadelphia Eagles use him in preseason, just to see how to get him on the field. But he has an uphill road because the defensive line room is pretty packed right now. Josh Sweat, obviously. Nolan Smith is right there waiting for his opportunity to blow. BG is in the building. You got Bryce Huff. But then after that, I think that's where Jalyx Hunt fits in. He's going to compete. He's going to be competing around that realm. But again, a player with that mentality, a player that's dedicated like that, you got to watch him. Nolan Smith, watch your cookies. Don't let him take your lunch. We know BG not going to be here next year. So then Jalyx Hunt would naturally move up the depth chart, but he's also going to have to show some signs of development too. But Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, those are the three, BG. Those are the main guys right now. Those are the main guys. But can Jalyx Hunt find a way to crack that rotation? Can he? Especially with a guy like BG not playing that many snaps to begin with. Can Jalyx Hunt get some reps in the midst of the BG Bryce Huff rotation? Or I think BG is going to be filling in for Sweat and Nolan Smith will rotate with Huff. Regardless, though, Jalyx Hunt, he's a fascinating prospect, and I'm really curious to see what he turns into, especially when you couple in his size and physical traits, and with proper development, he can be a legit starter. I'm not going to go as far as Pro Bowler. I'm not going to go as far as All Pro or whatever. But if he can develop properly with those unique physical traits and his unique experience playing football, formerly a DB turned edge rusher, if he can marry all of that together, if he can put that in the pot and make the perfect stew, he can turn himself into a legit starter. But I'm not ready to say Pro Bowl yet. There's still so much that has to be seen, so much has to be learned. But I think he has the tools to be a starter, the size, all those things. Now, let's transition to the next draft pick by the Philadelphia Eagles. Will Shipley, running back / return man out of Clemson. Now, Will Shipley is interesting because he enters a running back room that's not that crowded to begin with. Well, I mean, they did bring in a undrafted guy, and Kenny Gainwell's there, and they got Lou Nichols III, and I think there's another kid named Torian Prince. So, maybe it's crowded, maybe it's not. Maybe it's crowded, maybe it's not. I guess it all depends based off your perspective of crowded here. But I believe Will Shipley, running back out of Clemson, I believe he can crack the running back 2 spot. That's just me. Some people may feel differently about that. Not I. I'm looking at the Eagles depth chart right now. They have Will Shipley currently in the 3 hole behind Kenny Gainwell. Saquon Barkley is obviously in the 1 spot. But humbly speaking, I think Shipley can take reps from Kenny Gainwell. Tyrion Price. So as of right now, the Eagles running back room looks like this. As of right now, the Eagles running back room has Saquon Barkley as your 1, Kenny Gainwell as your 2, Will Shipley as your 3rd, Lou Nichols as your 4, and Tyrion Price and Kendall Milton all the way back there in your 5 and 6 spots. Kendall Milton was an undrafted free agent pickup. But I firmly believe Will Shipley can supplant Kenny Gainwell because Kenny Gainwell has been on this roster for 3 seasons, going into his 4th year, going into a contract year. Has Kenny Gainwell really shown you enough to make you believe he's cemented in that number 2 spot? What has Kenny Gainwell shown you guys to make you comfortable with him saying he's the de facto number 2 running back? Because I don't think he's, quite frankly, locked into the number 2 spot at all. So I say that to say Will Shipley, he has some runway to that number 2 spot. Mainly because Will Shipley, he was an extremely productive player in college, extremely productive for Clemson. 34 touchdowns, 34 total touchdowns. 31 came by way of the rush, I believe. So he has a nose for the end zone. He knows how to get there. Will Shipley, 5'11", 206. I think Will Shipley can be a productive player for the Philadelphia Eagles, taking pressure off of Saquon Barkley. Again, 34 total touchdowns at Clemson from Will Shipley. Just over 3,200 total yards. 904 kick return yards. Averaged over 5 yards a carry at Clemson. This is a multi-purpose player. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He has breakaway speed. He runs with enough power, despite being a 5'11" guy at only 209 or 206, excuse me. So, and then he brings you something in the kick return game. So the Philadelphia Eagles, the theme of this draft class, if you look at it from top to bottom, is versatility. And you're going to really see what I mean by that. But Cooper DeJean, versatile player. Jalyx Hunt, versatile player. Will Shipley out of Clemson, running back / return man, versatile player. Now, can Will Shipley block in pass pro? Can he block? I don't care. You want to know why? Because Saquon Barkley is going to be in there on third downs. Saquon Barkley is going to be the guy doing most of the blocking for the quarterback if they ask him to block in any given situation. So I don't really care about Will Shipley's pass pro ability right now. But I'm going to look into it more to see how he fares as a pass blocker. At 5'11", 206, he only can do but so well. But I think Kenny Gainwell's job is not safe. I think Kenny Gainwell needs to be on high alert. Seriously. But we'll see how that turns out, though. I like Will Shipley. Based off his production at Clemson, he has a very, very good chance to challenge Kenny Gainwell for the RB2 spot behind Saquon Barkley, and he could definitely get reps as a return man. I want to transition to our next guy here. Oh, by the way, when it comes to Will Shipley, he led the ACC in touchdowns and I believe rushing yards or total yards over the past 3 seasons. And hold on, wait. I think somebody just reminded me of something. And he ran a 4.3940. He ran a 4.3940. I like that. I like that a lot. Again, he runs with enough power. He keeps his feet going. And another thing about him is he has really great vision at the position. Great vision at the position. So we'll see. We'll see if Kenny Gainwell can hold on to his RB2 role. I don't think anything is guaranteed when it comes to Kenny Gainwell. I think Will Shipley is coming for that spot. That's just my humble opinion. Some of you guys may feel differently. Some of you guys may feel the same. It all remains to be seen, though. A lot of these guys, again, these guys got to get on the field. How healthy will they be? How will they acclimate to the speed of the game? How will they take in the playbook? So many variables. How will they respond to the coaching, to the culture, to being in a new place? How will they respond to having to work their way up the pecking order? So much remains to be seen. But the Eagles drafting Will Shipley in the 4th round, when they drafted Kenny Gainwell in the 5th, but drafting Will Shipley in the 4th, and you still have these other guys on the roster like Tyrion Price and Lou Nichols and Saquon Barkley. I think this could very well be Kenny Gainwell's last year. Khalil, why would the Philadelphia Eagles feel inclined to pay him any money when they just drafted a new guy in the 4th round and he's on a new rookie deal? Why would I do that? I'm wasting money at that point. So I think this is Kenny Gainwell's last year. He knows that, or he may know that already. If he has the foresight, he knows that, and he's probably going to give this season his all. We'll see. But Will Shipley's coming for that spot. I can tell you that right now. Now, transitioning to their 5th round pick, their first of many 5th round picks, Ainias Smith. Ainias Smith is a very, very fun prospect. Here's why. We're gonna call Ainias Smith Mr. All-Purpose, Mr. Do-It-All. Ainias Smith is the brother you see that walk in the barbershop and he opened his jacket and he got cell phones, chains. He got new license plates for you. He got tasers. He got food stamp cards. He got postage stamps. He got everything you need in that jacket. We're gonna refer to Ainias Smith as Mr. All-Purpose, Mr. Do-It-All, Mr. Check Every Box. So Yes, yes, Will Benacore. There he is. There we go. We're gonna start calling Ainias Smith Hustle Man, Hustle Brother. Y'all, I mean, if y'all in the culture, I'm pretty sure y'all seen Barbershop, right? The Ice Cube movie with Cedric the Entertainer and Eve and so on and so forth, right? Michael Ealy. You know the stand-up comedian D-Ray, right? His character, he came in with everything. VCRs, radios, license plates, antennas, air conditioners. He had everything you need. So we're going to start calling Ainias Smith Hustle Man. However you want it. However you need it. Oh, however you want it. However you need it. So Ainias Smith, man, let's get to it. Wide receiver out of Texas A&M. And he was a return man. He did everything for them. Through 50 games played on 34 starts, he accumulated over 2,400 receiving yards, averaging just over 13 yards of reception, 19 receiving TDs, 405 rushing yards, 4 rushing TDs, 836 punt return yards, and 2 punt return TDs. This man did everything. Not everything, everything. He said, Coach, you need the water? I got you. Coach, you need towels? I got you. Coach, you need me to cut the grass? I got you. Coach, you need me to do the dishes? I got you. Coach, by the way, I catch passes. I run routes. I return kicks. I do whatever you need, player. So I'm curious to see how the Philadelphia Eagles implement Ainias Smith into this offense. Now, again, another player that has an uphill battle at his position. The wide receiver room for the Philadelphia Eagles just got significantly more crowded because they added 2 wide receivers via the draft, and I think they brought in another guy in the undrafted pool. On top of that, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, untouchable players, obviously. But then, remember, they brought in Paris Campbell in the offseason. They brought in Devontae Parker through free agency. Remember? They still got a guy named Shaquan Davis at wide receiver, Joseph Nagata, Britton Covey, Austin Watkins Jr., Jacob Harris. So then you add in Ainias Smith, Johnny Wilson, the guy they drafted out of FSU, Talik Keaton, the undrafted player out of what school is he out of? Let me see. I'm not even sure what school he's out of. Let me double check here. I want to know. Marshall, out of Marshall. So all I'm trying to say is Ainias Smith can be a productive player, can be a weapon for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially when you consider the new kickoff rules. If you watch Ainias Smith work, that brother can move. He's silky smooth on punt returns. He's fearless when you throw him the ball. Steve Smith Sr. had nothing but glowing reviews about Ainias Smith. That brother is fearless. It don't matter where you throw him the ball. It don't matter how many bodies around him. He's going to take that hit and catch that rock. So I think Ainias Smith can be a weapon for the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, he has an uphill battle. I think likely in his rookie year, he'll see his most opportunities as a kick return man, the punt return man. But he's going to have to challenge Britton Covey for that. Britton Covey had a really good year returning punts, and you never want to forget the hand that fed you. So Britton Covey is not going to make it easy for Ainias Smith, right? And then that wide receiver 3 spot, that's where the competition is. Ainias Smith is going to be competing for that spot. Johnny Wilson is going to be competing for that spot. Paris Campbell, Devontae Parker, Joseph Nagata, all those guys are going to be competing for that wide receiver 3 spot. So Ainias Smith, if the wide receiver 3 spot doesn't necessarily click in right away, he can still compete for a punt return or a kick return spot, likely a punt return spot. In Britton Covey, he's going to have to compete against him as well. But I think Ainias Smith, with his skill set, with the versatility, being able to use him in the passing game and the run game, jet sweeps, so on and so forth, that makes him more valuable. That gives him a bigger target to hit than a guy like Britton Covey. You feel what I'm saying? He has a bigger target he's able to hit compared to Devontae Parker. But I like the Ainias Smith pickup out of Texas A&M. Mr. All-Purpose, Mr. Do-It-All. Hustle, brother. Hustle, man. I want to give a shout out to 757 CJ with the $5 investment. He wrote, the best draft and free agent combo I've seen the Eagles have. New era, bruh. Been rocking with you since Sports Take. Proud of you, Tone. Keep up the good work. Go Birds. Hey, 757 CJ. First of all, I like that name, brother. But even more, I appreciate you for investing in the channel. I appreciate you for following me over here to Trotter Sports. This is a platform that I've built from the ground up. This is my platform. I own this over here. So I'm so grateful that you're helping me build this thing up. I'm grateful that you're here locking in with me. I don't take that for granted at all. We got over 200 people in the live stream, 156 on YouTube, over 60 on X. Please make sure you guys smash that like button. Please make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel like my man 757 CJ here. He's been a loyal listener since I was doing Sports Take with my good brother Rob Ellis and Derek Gunn. So make sure you guys are on the right side of history. Smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the retweets. Hit the share buttons, the like buttons on X as well. We rocking on this side. So I appreciate you, 757, for investing in the show, my man. I really do. Now, transitioning away from Ainias Smith, we got to get to the man of the hour, the belle of the ball. We got to get to the legacy conversation. We got to talk about the man, none other than Jeremiah Trotter Jr. J. Trot Jr. First and foremost, before I get into, the football talk, right? I can't tell you how good it made me feel to see the happiness in Jeremiah Trotter Sr.'s eyes. It floored me to see how proud he was of his son. We can get into the nitty-gritty of it and whether or not he's going to work and whether or not he's big enough or whatever. We can get into all that. But it was so beautiful. It was so dope to see how proud Jeremiah Trotter Sr. was of his son. You saw it in his eyes. It came through the screen. I know how proud my father is of me when I do what I do. And me and my dad are not in the same line of business. My dad is blue collar. My dad is a business owner. My dad also does business with other people. My dad works in home remodeling, home reconstruction, landscaping. He does it all. My dad can do everything, and I can do nothing but talk. So let that set in, y'all. My dad can do everything, and I can't do shit but talk. So all I'm trying to say is, when you got a son that ends up doing what you do, and to take it a step further, has an opportunity to play for the organization that you played for, has an opportunity to play for the organization where you earned your stripes, where you were a 3-time or a 4-time Pro Bowler, a former All-Pro, made it to a Super Bowl. When you have that kind of legacy, when you're a Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Famer, when you have that legacy and your son ends up following in your footsteps and some, man, that's a hell of a feeling. It's God is working overtime. My Lord and Savior is working overtime. So I think that's so dope to just see how beautiful, just to see that whole situation play itself out. Now, heartstrings aside, let's get to the football talk about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. What does he bring to the table? Well, at 6 feet, 228 pounds, he's not the biggest linebacker, but he does bring a ton of athletic ability and football IQ to the position. On top of that, like my man Jason 18 just said, great instincts. My man Joey Shakes in the building. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, let me make sure I take care of my guy who donated earlier. Give me 1 second. Make sure he gets his wrench. All right. So, yeah, again, my man Joey Shakes in the building. He says, I'm rooting for Trotter Jr. Won't have the same legacy, but want him to create his own path in his own shadow. Absolutely. I think that's going to be so important for him to carve out his own game, carve out his own way of doing things, right, Joey? And I think he's already started doing that in college. If we paid attention to Jeremiah Trotter Jr., you know, the evaluations and the scouts and the highlights in the film, if we paid attention to that, him and his dad played a position very differently. Very differently. I think Trotter Jr. is more athletic. He plays with a bit more speed. Senior was a big, traditional, big body middle linebacker that would just hit you with the hammer, hit you with the axe man. You feel me? So they played a position differently already. So I think he's already on his way for starting to cement his own path for sure. But he has to prove it at the end of the day. He has to prove it at the end of the day. Here come my dad playing the cleanup crew. He says, son, you're the greatest talker in the world. Keep talking sports. You're the man. Love what you do. And I love what you do, my man. You know how many TVs you hung on the wall for me? You know how many TVs you hung up on the wall for me? You know how many, you know how much handiwork you did around the crib for me? Hey, listen, if I'm the greatest talker in the world, hey, you the greatest facilitator in the world. I'll tell you that right now. You get it done. So I appreciate you, big dog. You already know how we give it up. You already know how we give it up. But yeah, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., 6 feet, 228 pounds, not the biggest dude, but he does bring a ton of athletic ability and football IQ and instincts to the position. And according to the evaluations, according to the numbers, according to the eye test, he was easily the most productive player on Clemson's defense and arguably one of the most productive linebackers in the nation. Right? What stands out about Trotter Jr. is his coverage ability. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has really, really good coverage ability. He may be the best linebacker in terms of coverage ability in the draft, just based off of the evaluations. As a matter of fact, according to Pro Football Focus, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had a 92 coverage grade since 2022, which was the highest in the nation amongst the FBS linebackers. That's just what the evaluator said. That's what the analytics said, right? I'm not a scout. I'm not that entrenched in the analytics. I'm not an evaluator. I'm not a scout. I'm not none of that. So I'm going to trust the people who get paid to do this, right? According to PFF, according to evaluators, he was one of the better coverage linebackers in the FBS. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he makes his impact in this Eagles linebacker room. Remind you, again, this dude stuffed the stat sheet, tackles, leading Clemson in tackles, put up sacks, interceptions, forced fumbles, tackles for loss. He did everything for them on defense. He was everywhere. But can he play above the rim? Can he play above what the measurables say about him? Being 6 feet, weighing only 228 pounds. But just to put it in perspective here, at 228 pounds, at 6 feet, Nakobe Dean came in at 6 feet, I believe, maybe a little shorter, only weighing about 219, 220. So he comes in about the same height as Nakobe Dean, but comes in with more muscle or more size than Nakobe Dean. On top of that, Trotter Jr. ran a 4.6 40, Not bad at all. Not bad at all. But can he hold up with the pounding? Listen to what I'm saying, Dinkion. Nakobe Dean came in at 5'11", like 219. Let me make sure I'm not shortchanging him. Okay, I lied. I take that back. My apologies. I take that back. I lied. I take that back. Nakobe Dean came in, unless it's updated, I'm not sure. 229. That's what it was. 229. My apologies. Not 219, 229. I don't want to shortchange him. See, we ain't got no problem going back. We ain't got no problem. We ain't got no problem correcting ourselves over here. We ain't got no problem doing that. We don't. But again, Nakobe Dean enters year 3. A lot of pressure on him. You add Jeremiah Trotter Jr. to the room, that's more pressure. On top of them adding Devin White, Zach Bond, Jeremiah Okoro, or Julian Okoro, excuse me, Julian Okoro, Oren Burks. It's a crowded linebacker room. Ben Van Sumeren, very, very crowded. So can Jeremiah Trotter outplay Nakobe Dean? Because I think that's the comp right there. Now, let me say this. You know, I think the whole size thing at linebacker is maybe a little bit overblown. Just a tad. Because where the NFL is, where it's trending, when you look at some of the best guys that play the position, all of them are flirting with 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2", maybe 6'3", and they're all going back and forth between 225 to 235, maybe 240. So that's pretty much where these linebackers are now. We're past that era where you have 6'5", 6'6" linebackers weighing 260, 270. We're not there anymore. We're not. Most of these linebackers now, 6'1", 6'2", maybe 6'3" or 6'4", maybe. They're flirting with 220. They're constantly teetering between 220 and 235, maybe 240. That's just where we are now. So we have to shift how we look at the position. We have to shift how we evaluate some of these guys coming in. Because on top of that, these defenses aren't really playing in base formation anyway. That's why I laugh when I hear people say, oh, we're running a 3-4 or 4-3. I'm like, okay, maybe in terms of where the D line lines up, maybe, you know, because JD is going to be at nose tackle, right? But as far as just the personnel that's going to be on the field, you're not going to see more than 2 linebackers on the field for the Philadelphia Eagles. 2 traditional linebackers, I mean. 2 guys you're going to look to drop back in coverage. You're not going to see more than 2 linebackers, and I'm not talking about edge rushers. You're not going to see more than 2 linebackers on the field at any given time in the NFL. That's just not where we are. It's not. Unless you're maybe on the goal line, maybe you'll throw in a 3rd linebacker, maybe. But just where we are in the league, you're not going to see more than 2 linebackers on the field at any given time. Nickel was the new base. Shout out to my man, Big Pickett. Nickel is the new base formation because we are in a passing league. But Jeremiah Trotter Jr., another player facing an uphill battle with Devin White being in the building. Nakobe Dean being in the building. Oren Burks, Ben Van Sumeren, Patrick Johnson, Terrell Lewis, Zach Bond, Julian Okoro, Brandon Smith. It's a lot of bodies in that linebacker room. It's a ton. It's a ton. But just keeping it on the traditional linebackers, the box linebackers that he's really going to be competing with. Jeremiah Trotter is going to be competing with Nakobe Dean, Devin White, Oren Burke, Zach Bond, Ben Van Sumeren, Brandon Smith. Uphill battle for sure. Nakobe Dean, you better watch your cookies. You better watch your lunch. Younger guy, healthier, less miles on the tires. Watch your chick. transition into the next 5th round pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, Trevor Keegan. This prospect I love. I love everything about Keegan, Trevor Keegan. At 6'5", 310 pounds, interior offensive lineman. He played left guard for Michigan. He was on that national championship team. Really athletic, really powerful dude. Quick feet, shifty. I love his approach to the game. He's a nasty player, really physical player, a blue collar. He's the definition of a blue collar athlete. Listen to this. After redshirting in 2019, right? After redshirting in 2019 and only playing 5 games in 2020 as a backup, he became a starting left guard, playing in 44 games and starting in 37 of those 44 games. Got no time in 2019. Barely got any time in 2020. Became a starting left guard. Played in 44 games, started in 37 of them. So for him to go from where he was into what he is now, he had to be another player, by the way. He had to be a true student of his craft. He had to be a film junkie. And he's as physical at the line of scrimmage as they come. Nasty, nasty player, a real guard, like my man Big Pickens just said. MJS says that is a great pick for sure. I agree with you 100%. Listen to this. This is another reason why I think this dude is going to be legit. Listen to this. Follow me here, you guys. And if you haven't already, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the live stream or subscribe to the show. Excuse me. I really appreciate the love and the support. We got 149 people tuned in from YouTube, 64 people tuned in from X. Make sure you guys retweet the show. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed as well. Make sure you're following me on the socials, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you guys are locked in. But this kid stayed in the film room. There's quotes out there of him talking about how he had to study himself, how he had to, unlearn bad habits and pick up better ones, changing his body, changing his mentality, down to the feet, the hands, how he moved, how he responded to DTs. Like, this dude became a student of himself. He enrolled in Trevor Keegan University. But listen to this. He allowed 0 sacks in 2023. That national championship year where Michigan won it all, finally, he allowed 0 sacks. He kept personally, he kept J.J. McCarthy untouched. Trevor Keegan gave up 0 sacks in 2023, and he only gave up 3 sacks in his entire college career. Throughout his entire time playing at Michigan, he only gave up 3 sacks on 982 pass block reps. On 982 pass block snaps, this man only gave up 3 sacks. That's not even 1% of the time. That's not even 1% of the time. Nike's 3 says they never passed, though, to be real, Tone. If I gave you, listen, Nike, to your point, right? If you gave me 982 opportunities to punch you in the face, and I only hit you 3 times, did I win or did I lose? If I gave you 982 times to punch me in the face, did you win or did you lose? So all I'm trying to say is his entire time, 982 passing snaps played on, he only gave up a total of 3 sacks. That motherfucker is a bodyguard. That brother belong in the Secret Service. I'm going to start calling him Gerard Butler. Because Olympus has fallen. And we need Trevor Keegan. We need Keegan. Get him on the hotline. The president needs your help. So Trevor Keegan is the real deal. I'm surprised he fell that far in the draft, but let's be honest, guards don't get drafted high anyway. But he was a steal in the draft, in my opinion. Let me take it a step further for you guys, right? Let me take it a step further. Listen to this. Did you guys know Trevor Keegan was only penalized 6 times in over 2,200 snaps? Listen to this. On over 2,000 snaps, on over 2,200 snaps. What's good, Corey? On over 2,200 snaps at offensive line. Did you know he was only penalized 6 times? Again, that's less than 1%. Less than 1%, less than 1%. Not only do you have a mauler, not only do you have a student to the craft and a student to the game, not only do you have a bodyguard, but you have a disciplined technician. I'll say it again. Not only do you have a bodyguard, not only do you have a mauler, not only do you have a student to the game, you have a disciplined technician. That brother don't only use bazookas, he used snipers. You feel what I'm saying? He's surgical in a role that's so gnarly. There's nothing pretty about, there's nothing surgical about the offensive line. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. But what I'm saying is, as an offensive lineman, for him to be that surgical, for him to be that technically sound, the Eagles got one. He got one. They got one. So I'm super excited to see what he turns into. I'll take it a step further with y'all. I personally believe, and I heard Louis Riddick say this. I think it was Louis Riddick. I don't want to misquote him. But the Eagles might have drafted they may have drafted their starting right guard. The Eagles may have drafted their starting right guard. Remember, at that right guard spot, you have Tyler Steen competing, Matt Hennessy competing, right? Who else is in that guard room? You got Tyler Steen competing for right guard, Matt Hennessy competing for right guard. I think we know where Brett Toth is. I think Brett Toth is a rotational guard at best. We know what that is. And the Eagles also brought in an undrafted free agent at guard. His name is Gottlieb Ayadeze. Gottlieb Ayadeze, offensive guard coming out of Maryland. He was projected to go in the 5th or 6th rounds, but fell in the draft. Some had him as the 15th ranked guard. Some had him ranked as the 13th guard, and so on and so forth. But he fell out of the draft. And the Eagles snatched him up at guard. So Gottlieb Ayadeze is going to be competing for the guard spot as well. But that right guard spot, I think our top 3 players really competing is Tyler Steen, Matt Hennessy, and Trevor Keegan. And because Trevor Keegan is so technically sound, because he is so comfortable playing that right guard spot, and Tyler Steen is a player that really is a tackle, but they're trying to transition him into that right guard spot, because he doesn't have the natural guard instincts like Trevor Keegan does. Keegan may have the leg up, but the thing that Tyler Steen has over Trevor Keegan is the NFL level competition he's played up against in his rookie year. And then Matt Hennessy has experience on his side at center, at guard as well. So this right guard competition is going to be so beautiful to watch. It's going to be so fascinating to see what Jeff Stoutland pulls out of these guys. Each of these guys has an edge on the next for various reasons. Trevor Keegan may be one of the cleanest offensive line prospects the Eagles have ever drafted, maybe in the later rounds. 5th round or later, he may be one of the cleaner prospects. Now, Jason Kelce, Hall of Fame center, of course, he came in, but he was a project a little bit. He had to work at it, but he became the starter, obviously, and it led to a multi-time All-Pro, multi-time Pro Bowl, multi-time. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, right? But as far as that guard spot, right? Trevor Keegan, because he comes in so polished, because he's a winner, he knows what it takes, he's disciplined, he's had time to nix out the bad habits. Could we have drafted the future at right guard? And could Tyler Steen maybe take over the right tackle spot when Lane Johnson retires? The Eagles will always stay in good shape at that guard spot. Always. They will always stay in good shape in the offensive line because they draft well there. And you know what's so dope about this draft also? Let's follow me here, you guys. You know what's so fascinating about this draft as well? The Eagles didn't draft their first offensive lineman into the 5th round. Now, granted, there were players they wanted, like Cooper Beebe, but he was snatched up by the Cowboys, so they had to trade back. And I'm pretty sure if the board felt differently, they may have drafted an offensive lineman sooner. Situations matter. Circumstances matter. But as it stands, the Philadelphia Eagles didn't draft their first offensive lineman until the 5th round in 2024. They passed up on and they could have drafted other guys. They could have drafted tackles, guards, centers. They could have drafted so many guys. But they waited until the 5th round to get their man. They have so much trust in their farm system. They have so much trust in Stoutland University that they will bring in a brother off the street. They have so much trust in Stoutland U. They'll turn a rugby player into a Pro Bowler. They'll turn a rugby player into a multimillionaire, a la Jordan Mailata, the Aussie, the rugby demon, the Australian nightmare. So Trevor Keegan, I think he's gonna be a player, and I'm really excited for him. I'm excited to see what he turns into. Now, transitioning to our next prospect, 6th round pick out of Florida State, Johnny Wilson. And we're going to talk about Mekhi Becton too, Austin. We're going to get into that. Chris Colbert says, you should go on Philly 500 show more. I love the chemistry on the shakedown with you three. Hey, man, I love those guys. I appreciate those guys. Whenever they want me, I'm there. So you guys already know. Make sure you guys put those requests in. And then 500 and Joey will hit me up. But I got their numbers, though. You know, those are my guys. So it ain't about nothing. But I appreciate you, Chris, for the kind words. Thank you. But transitioning, and we're going to talk about Mekhi Becton a little later, Austin. So stick around. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. The show only gets better. The 6th round prospect, the 6th round pick, Florida State wide receiver, the behemoth, Johnny, who the hell is that, Wilson? Johnny, whose man's is this? Wilson. Johnny Skyscraper Wilson. This dude is a physical freak. He's a physical freak at the wide receiver position, coming in and measuring at 6'6", 231 pounds. I'll say that again. At wide receiver, coming out of Florida State University, this motherfucker, Johnny Wilson, is 6'6", 231 pounds. God damn. What? Now, there are some hitches to his game. There are some hitches to his game. From what I've read, from what I've heard, from what I've been told, he could stand to hit the jug machine. He could stand to refine his catching mechanics and his technique at the position. Because he's so physically imposing, he's not the most technically sound prospect. But can you imagine if a player with that physical stature, with those stellar physical traits, can you imagine if he was able to marry that physicality, that raw physical ability with proper technique and proper hand usage and proper hand-eye coordination? He's a player that you need to work up a little bit. He needs to hit the jug machine a little bit more. But I love that he's in the wide receiver room with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with a veteran like Devontae Parker, who he's competing with, but he's a veteran. Say what you want about Devontae Parker, but he's been in the league for a hell of a long time. And he has a lot to teach. And he's forgotten more football than we could ever know. So Johnny Wilson is in prime real estate to really hone and refine his technique and his ability at the wide receiver position. But again, he brings so much to the table still. He brings so much to work with. Could he be a player that you may shuffle between wide receiver and tight end? I think he's going to have to hang around Dallas Goedert and Jeff Stoutland to refine those, blocking, those run blocking techniques, the hand usage. With that size, I'm sure they used him in run blocking situations at Florida State. I'm pretty sure. And when you look at him, he's just so physically imposing. It's ridiculous, right? But it will come down to, can his stellar physical traits overshadow his lapses in technique? Because he has had too many drops that people have talked about. But if he can figure it out, if he can get close to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, pick up anything they've dropped, I think Johnny Wilson could be a hell of a prospect for the Philadelphia Eagles, a hell of a player for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll see what he turns into. He's a really big dude. I don't know if I don't know if you put him in the slot. He's a unique prospect for sure. He doesn't scream slot. But maybe you have him learning some tight end, some tight end skills. We'll see. More things about him as well. He doesn't have the greatest separation, but his size that he comes with, it lends to an immense catch radius, and he is a mismatch nightmare. So although the technique needs refinement because of the size, because of the wingspan, because of the sheer power, the sheer physicality he plays with, he has a hell of a catch radius, and he's a mismatch for anybody, even if he's not that technically sound. And at 6'6", at 231 pounds, you ran a 4.5. Not that bad. Not that bad. His 10-yard split is solid at 1.55 seconds. It's solid. But his top end speed, once he gets going, it's like a battering ram. It's like a bat out of hell. So I like Johnny Wilson. He's in a great environment to learn. He's in a great environment to really hone his skill set with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with a Devontae Parker. Guys that have been in the league for 4 years or more, that have a lot of football knowledge between the three of them, but also Devontae Parker is competing for that wide receiver 3 spot, so he only going to give him but so much now. But Johnny Wilson's in a good situation. He's in a good situation. He's in a good situation to develop and to learn. But he still has a lot to learn. And the biggest question is, what's his ceiling? How good can he be? It all remains to be seen. Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles' other 6th round pick, Dylan McMahon, 6'3", 299 pounds, played center at North Carolina State, but he rotated between left guard, right guard, center, whatever they needed on any given Saturday or any given game day. He showed up at either left guard, center, or right guard. I'll tell you this, though. He played in 49 games with 44 starts at either left guard, center, or right guard. He is your quintessential swing guard. He is your quintessential swing interior offensive lineman. The Philadelphia Eagles got themselves maybe 2 players in one. You know, a lot of guys, you know, they can swing between maybe the guard positions, or maybe they can swing between maybe the center or the guard, or either the center or the right guard, or maybe they can swing between left guard and center. But it's rare. It's rare you come across an interior offensive lineman that can swing comfortably between 3 of the 5 offensive line positions. It's rare. Like I said, you have players that can swing between left guard and right guard. You have players who can swing between center and right guard. And you have players who can swing between left guard and center. But to have a guy who's very comfortable swinging between left guard, center, and right guard, and has been productive, and he's been trusted, and he has the amount of starts that he has, you got to give credit where credit is due. He's another guy that fits the mold of what the Eagles and Jeff Stoutland look for in their offensive line room: versatility, teachability, and a mean streak. You can't be pussy playing for the Philadelphia Eagles online. I'm sorry. Why do you think Andre Dillard didn't make it? Because he ain't have it. He didn't have that dog. He wasn't an apex predator. But when you look at Jordan Mailata, you look at Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks when we had him, Lane Johnson, Jason Peters when we had him, Isaac Seumalo when we had him, Jack Driscoll, Sua Opeta. You feel me? Cam Jurgens. You can't be pussy in playing for the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. You got to be a dog. You got to be versatile. You got to be teachable, and you got to have a mean streak. Those are the prerequisites to being enrolled in Stoutland University. You got to check those 3 boxes, bare minimum, before you get your application in the mail. Flat out. And Dylan McMahon fits the bill. Again, 49 games played with 44 starts at either left guard, center, or right guard. That's a dangerous man. It's a dangerous man. But again, has to put it all together. Has to be a player that you can trust in the league. How will he transition? You see, I'm going through all these players and I'm excited about them, right? And I'm pumping you guys up, and I'm giving you guys the good, the bad, the ugly, my perspective, right? But at the end of the day, all these players have to prove it on the football field at the NFL level. So although I'm excited, although I'm over the moon about this draft class, those brothers got to prove it to them coaches, to the fans, to themselves. But I think they can do it. I think they're all in prime real estate to maximize their value. I want to add something to the Dylan McMahon conversation, coming out of NC State, by the way, North Carolina State. I'm going to add something to the Dylan McMahon conversation. He brings a ton of athleticism, toughness, and quickness to the interior. That man got quick feet, I'll tell you that right now. Quick feet, agile. He ran a 5.1 40-yard dash time. 5.1 seconds as a 40-yard dash time at that size. With a 1.75 10-yard split. That's crazy. That short area speed is spectacular. With a 4.33 second shuttle time. A 7.26 second three cone. Only 2 offensive linemen in previous drafts have been faster, and one of them was Cam Jurgens. A 33-inch vertical. 115-inch broad jump. This dude is athletic as hell at that position. Now, I will say this. He will have to get stronger for the NFL. Again, 6'3", 299. He's going to have to get stronger. I think he will. He's in prime real estate to get better. He has so many people around him to pick their brains. Here's another thing, too, by the way. Here's another thing. Dylan McMahon at NC State. Did you guys know over his past 2 seasons at NC State, did you guys know he only allowed 2 sacks during that span? Over the course of 2 seasons at NC State, he only allowed 2 sacks. That boy good. But again, it's the NFL. And all that physicality, all that toughness, all that versatility will have to translate to the next level. And every draft pick that the Philadelphia Eagles have brought in are in prime situations to be successful. Let's just start from the top once again. Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean, excuse me. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Those 2 DBs the Philadelphia Eagles brought in, they're going to be able to study from a guy like Darius Slay and a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, right? They're going to be able to study and master their craft, lining up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Best believe A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, they're going to make sure, they're going to ensure that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are ready to go for week 1. Because I'm a firm believer that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean will be making an impact on day 1. I'm willing to guarantee that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean will see a ton of grass time in week 1. And it's going to be needed. Now, they're going to go through their growing pains. This is the NFL, and no one is exempt from it. But these 2 players, they have all the tools, have all the physical traits, are in the perfect situation when it comes to wide receiver competition in their own organization. And a guy like Darius Slay, who's a vested veteran, who knows everything about that position, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's one of the better safeties in the league when it comes to playmaking and playing with an edge, playing with a mentality. Those guys have a lot of people to learn from. And I'll even throw in Bradbury, but I don't think he's going to be here long enough to teach anybody anything. I don't think he's going to be here long enough to teach those guys anything. I think he's going to get cut in June. That's what I think. Like I said, all these rookies are in a good situation to learn from. I mentioned Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Jalyx Hunt. He's going to learn. Remember, he's a DB turned edge rusher or off-ball linebacker. He has DB skills. He has coverage skills, but he's going to learn so much in terms of rushing the passer from Josh Sweat, from Brandon Graham, even Bryce Huff, a guy who's entering his 5th year in the NFL, a guy who built himself up from an undrafted rookie to being a $17 million per year player. So Jalyx Hunt is in a good situation to learn as well. He's in a great situation to learn, to expand his pass rushing repertoire. Will Shipley, he's playing behind one of the best running backs we've ever seen in Saquon Barkley. He's going to learn a ton from him. Their skill sets are kind of similar. Running the ball, catching the ball from the backfield, things of that nature. He's going to learn a ton from him. Ainias Smith and Johnny Wilson, they're going to learn a ton from A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Darius Slay and them boys is going to push them youngins. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., how much can he learn from a Devin White? How much can he learn from Oren Burks? Say what you want about him. He's been in the league for quite some time. I think about 5 or 6 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is in a good situation. And he's a football lifer, learning from Jeremiah Trotter Sr. Trevor Keegan, Dylan McMahon. Come on. Stoutland University. Need I say more? Need I say more when it comes to Stoutland U? So we'll see at the end of the day. All these players have the tools. They have everything. They have everything necessary for them to thrive. They have the coaching staff. They have the personnel around them. They have the culture. They come in with a very, very wide talent net, a solid talent base, a solid foundation. It's going to be really exciting to see. Now, the Eagles did bring in Mekhi Becton. They did bring in Mekhi Becton to solidify, to fortify that offensive line, in particular, the tackles. Now, Mekhi Becton, he's a former first-round pick. He's entering his 5th season in the NFL, played his first 4 seasons with the New York Jets. He was drafted in 2020, first round. Injuries and inconsistent play has plagued his first 4 years of his career. He's battled injuries almost every year. But when he's on, he's on. Mekhi Becton is a large man. Mekhi Becton is 25 years old. Let me make sure I got my stuff here in front of me. Mekhi Becton is 25 years old, 6'7", 363 pounds. 6'7", 363 pounds. For one, he has talent. He's a talented guy, but he hasn't been healthy enough and hasn't been able to string together consistent play because of the health. And I wouldn't be surprised if it really took a big hit on his development at the position. But still, you have a first-round caliber talent that you brought in Mekhi Becton with that kind of size, with that kind of physicality. You're not asking him to come in and be your starting right tackle. You're not even asking him to be the future at right tackle. At least I don't think so. I don't think so. At best, I think they're asking Mekhi Becton to be a swing tackle for them. I think that's where he's competing at. He's competing to be the swing tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. God forbid Mailata goes down, Mekhi Becton, you got a talented guy right there. God forbid Lane Johnson goes down, you got Mekhi Becton right there. And Philly, man, I don't want to completely dismiss him, right? Let's say Lane Johnson decides to retire and Mekhi Becton proves that he can stay healthy for an extended period of time, then maybe he could be the future at right tackle. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe. But I think Tyler Steen may have something to say about that if he ends up being the right tackle. If Trevor Keegan ends up beating him out for the right guard spot. But the bottom line is the Philadelphia Eagles are making sure they got plenty of bullets in the gun. That offensive line is fortified. I think the Philadelphia Eagles have further cemented themselves as having a top 3 offensive line room in the NFL. They top 3 and they not 3. Argue with your mama. The Philadelphia Eagles offensive line room, top to bottom, left tackles going all the way across the right tackle, no matter how deep you go, the Philadelphia Eagles have a top 3 offensive line room, and they are not 3. So let's go to the undrafted rookies, right? The Philadelphia Eagles brought in defensive tackle Gabe Hall out of Baylor. Now, Gabe Hall, very interesting prospect, 6'6", 291. So he's a little undersized for that interior spot, but he has some skill. He's quick. He has a nice club swim move. He's strong for his size. He's tall. He's lean. Has an 84-inch wingspan. You know, when it comes to his weight, that's the part that kind of throws you off. But the height, you like. The wingspan, you love. The athleticism, the strength, you like. But he went undrafted for a reason. He has some pass rush talent and traits that you may like, but he can be a liability at times, especially against the run. So we'll see how good he can be. Some people were surprised that Gabe Hall wasn't drafted. Some people were surprised. But then, you know, staying in the trenches, they brought in the offensive lineman I mentioned to you guys earlier, Gottlieb Igedeze, guard out of Maryland, 6'4", 308 pounds. Now, here's the thing. Igedeze played left tackle for 4 years at Frostburg State in Maryland before he transferred to the University of Maryland in 2023, where he mostly played right tackle. Now, at 6'4", with 33-inch arms, he's likely to be a guard in the NFL. Kind of like Tyler Steen, right? Tyler Steen, although he played tackle in college, because of the arm length, he'll likely be suited at guard, especially being undersized. But he had a really fast 40-yard dash time, really fast. But he's what you call a developmental prospect. The Eagles are going to work with him. He's entering Stoutland University. I think Jeff Stoutland is going to obviously train him to be a swing guard at best right now. Maybe a swing guard. Maybe he can play tackle if need be. But that's Gottlieb Igedeze, former tackle turned guard out of the University of Maryland at 6'4", 308 pounds. Going to the next undrafted free agent or undrafted rookie. Staying on the offensive side, Kendall Milton out of Georgia, running back, 6'2", 225 pounds. A big guy, a physical, just jackhammer, a battle ram, one cut and go type of running back. He runs through contact and he's regularly falling forward. Now his production, obviously, it started off slow for him. In 2020, 35 rush attempts, 193 yards, but averaged over 5 yards a carry, no touchdowns. In 2021, 56 carries, 264 rushing yards, averaged almost 5 yards a carry, 1 touchdown. 2022 was the biggest jump, 85 rush attempts, 592 rushing yards, averaged 7 yards a carry, or with 8 touchdowns. He seemed like a goal line back, if you ask me. Now, in 2023 is when he broke out and had his biggest year. I believe he was a part of that rotation in Georgia. He had 121 rush attempts, 790 rushing yards, averaged over 6 yards a carry, and had 14 rushing touchdowns. Just based off the math, 1 out of every 8 carry that he had in college or in 2023 resulted in a touchdown. So he's a goal line right now. He seems like a chain mover. He's not elusive, not quick. He's just a powerful, big running back that's going to run you over, going to run through contact. Is going to always fall forward because of that size, because of that 6'2", 225 frame. He finished his season at Georgia, on a good note, though. He ran 64 times for 495 rushing yards, averaged almost 8 yards a carry and 9 touchdowns in Georgia's final 5 games in 2023. That's insane. But don't think he's going to make a name for himself in the receiving game. He's not catching the ball from the backfield. That's not what he does. He only had 12 career receptions at Georgia, catching the ball from the backfield. So that's not what he's going to do at all. But again, a guy with that kind of physicality, with that size, with those unique physical traits, that's always falling forward, that's a chain mover, that has a nose for the end zone. Could he crack the running back rotation? You got Saquon Barkley, Kenny Gainwell, Will Shipley, who are clearly your top 3 guys. You drafted Kenny Gainwell. You drafted Will Shipley. You obviously play Saquon Barkley. He's your number 1 back, so he's not even in the conversation. But can Kendall Milton challenge Kenny Gainwell, Will Shipley, Tyrion Davis-Price, Lou Nichols III? Can he challenge those guys? It all remains to be seen. But obviously, the Eagles drafted Shipley. He's going to make the roster. Kenny Gainwell, he'll likely make the roster because of his experience. So maybe he turns into a practice squad body. Can he outpace Tyrion Davis-Price and Lou Nichols? It all remains to be seen. Going back to the trenches, offensive tackle Ainias Smith out of Howard University. Now, this prospect is very fascinating because he comes with some stunning physical traits. All these guys I'm talking about are undrafted, by the way. If you're just joining the live stream, we've covered the drafted rookies. We've talked about everybody from Quinyon Mitchell all the way down to Dylan McMahon in the 6th round. We've covered everybody. We've covered the new free agent addition and Mekhi Becton, former 1st-round pick, entering his 5th season in the NFL. We've covered the first few undrafted rookies in Gabe Hall at DT, Gottlieb Ayadizzi at guard out of Maryland. We just got finished covering Kendall Milton, running back out of Georgia. And now we're going to cover Ainias Smith, offensive tackle out of Howard University, HBCU. At 6'8", 353 pounds. That's the kind of project you want. I think the Philadelphia Eagles, I think Jeff Stoutland's going to have a field day working with this guy. He needs to get next to Jordan Mailata and find out how he's able to move that 6'8", 353-pound frame in the NFL. I think that's the person Ainias Smith needs to mirror, needs to master and learn from, Jordan Mailata. But at 6'8", 353 pounds, Ainias Smith is the kind of prospect you want to work with. He was according to Zierlein, he's an NFL evaluator. According to Zierlein, he considers Ainias Smith to be a decorated left tackle with extremely rare size, mass, and length at the position. Smith is a human wall with the ability to grind and drive opponents off the turf once he's centered up and has his legs driving. He moves with adequate initial quickness, but will struggle to redirect his weight to make blocks on the move or to recover against quick inside rush counters. Dankwa is too tall to play guard and might not have the lateral quickness to protect the passer at an acceptable level. However, size and power matter to NFL teams, and there is enough on tape for a general manager to invest a late round pick in him. So, at best right now, he's a multi-year project. He's likely going to spend the 2024 season on the practice squad because he's so unrefined. But that size, I have a hard time believing the Philadelphia Eagles will allow him to be snatched up anywhere. I think the Philadelphia Eagles need to find a way to protect him. Could he develop and maybe, just maybe, be the future at right tackle? Can you imagine having 268, 350, 360-pound guys at left tackle and right tackle and Jordan Mailata and Ainias Dankwa? And again, he has an uphill battle. He has some tough sledding because he still has a lot to learn as a pass blocker. He has to get those feet moving. He has to know how to move that weight. He has to know how to move that size better. And that's when he needs to pay attention and master how Jordan Mailata has mastered his position. That's the person he should be studying, Jordan Mailata. Jordan Mailata is nimble with that 6'8", 360-pound frame. He's nimble, but Mailata comes from a rugby background. So he's used to being quick and agile and light on his feet. Dankwa needs to get with Mailata and find out what makes him tick, finds out how he's able to last in the league with that kind of frame and how he's able to move laterally. But I like that prospect as an undrafted rookie. Staying on the offensive side, the Eagles brought in the tight end that all of you guys have been requesting. They brought in the tight end that you all have been requesting. Not the tight end you've been requesting, but a tight end. They didn't draft one, but they brought one in free agency as an undrafted rookie. Now, again, Johnny Wilson at 6'6", 230. Maybe that counts in your guys' eyes as like a tight end prospect, maybe. But from the undrafted rookie pool, they brought in McCallan Castles at tight end from Tennessee, 6'4", 244 pounds. Now, here's his story. He initially enrolled at University of California in 2018, but entered the transfer portal during the 2019 season. He then transferred to UC Davis and then transferred to Tennessee in 2023. In 2023, he had 22 catches for 283 yards and 5 touchdowns. His most productive season was in 2021 at UC Davis, where he had 27 catches, 387 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He has a ton of broken tackles. Like, he has some highlights. Don't get it twisted. But, you know, he wasn't really the most productive, obviously. Again, his stats don't jump out the gym. And the Eagles already got Dallas Goedert, CJ Uzomah, Grant Calcaterra, and Albert O on the roster. So it's likely McCallan Castles doesn't make the 53-man roster. He's likely going to be a practice squad guy. But we'll see what he may turn into. I'm not going to overspeak or overinflate what this guy is. We'll find out if he can make a claim for himself or make a name for himself. But the reality is Dallas Goedert, CJ Uzomah, 2 guys with experience and talent. And then Grant Calcaterra, a young guy who can catch the ball, and Albert O, who is a physical specimen in and of himself. McCallan Castles has an uphill battle as well. And then their final undrafted rookie they brought in was Andre Sam, LSU safety, coming in at 5'11", 191 pounds. Now, he's 25 years old. So he's an older player. The odds of him coming on, it's very slim. He's clearly in his physical peak at 25 years old. I don't know what this player's ceiling is. Here's the story though. Although he's 25 years old, right? He was originally enrolled at McNeese State in 2017, transferred to Marshall in 2022, and then transferred to LSU in 2023. So he built himself up to being a Power 5 level safety. In 2023, he had 85 tackles and 3 interceptions for LSU. And he ultimately ended up getting a combine invite. Not bad. Now, the 40-yard dash, ran a 4.59. Okay, it's all right. Not exceptional. Had a 36-inch vertical, solid. A 1.55 second 10-yard split, not bad. So nothing about him really stands out. But some players you may compare him to is Kurt Coleman from Ohio State from back in the day in 2010, of Verone McKinley III out of Oregon that was drafted in 2022. But overall, Andre Sam enters a crowded DB room. He's likely going to be a practice squad guy if he makes it that far. It all remains to be seen. But regardless, though, we went through every prospect the Philadelphia Eagles have brought in, down to Mekhi Becton, all the way up to Quinyon Mitchell. We've gone from the first-round pick to the free agent veteran signing to the undrafted pool. The Philadelphia Eagles have done well for themselves. And they did an amazing job preparing for next year's draft. I want to get into this because the Eagles made a record-setting, I believe, 9 trades or 8 trades on draft day. They were wheeling and dealing. Listen to this, though. I think when the 2024 draft started, the Philadelphia Eagles only had about maybe 4 or 5, maybe 5. I think 5 is reasonable. I think they had about 5 2025 draft picks. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, they had 5 draft picks for 2025, right? They went from having 5 draft picks to having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They traded with the Dolphins on draft day to get another third-round pick. They traded with the Lions to get a 4th-round draft pick. They traded with the Texans to get an additional 5th-round pick. Howie Roseman is a magician. He's done amazing work setting the stage for the 2024 season, but also prepping for the 2025 draft. And you gotta hand it to him. You gotta hand it to him. And there you have it, you guys. So, how do you guys feel about this draft class? I don't really do grades. I personally don't like grading a draft class because I believe teams are drafting players based off of their own needs and where they are in particular in their own situation. So I don't really do draft grades because we've seen teams get A+ draft grades and they don't get nothing out of the draft class. We've seen that before. So draft grades are simply just fodder. It's talking points. It's fun, to compete from that perspective, but you don't win Super Bowls on draft day or on draft weekend. You don't. But what you do is you give yourself plenty of opportunities for success. Later down the line, as we get closer to the season, we're going to do our own 53-man mock roster. As we get closer to training camp and preseason, we're going to do our own 53-man cut down. And that's going to be exciting when that comes. But right now, it's pretty early to do something like that. It's very early. It's way too early to do a mock 53-man cut down. Way too early to do that. But maybe I can prepare and do one next week and let you guys know what I came around with for a way too early prediction for the 53-man roster. Maybe I can do that. Maybe that's what I'll do. Do an early mock 53-man cut down. I'll think about that. Betting Yourself Media says, yeah, let's do that, Tone. Okay. So Philly Man says make a 65-man one and a 53-man one. Okay, we'll do that because it's because the remaining guys will go on the practice squad, obviously. So I think that's reasonable. Okay. So yeah, I think I'll prep for that. I'm not going to tell you guys what day we're going to do that just yet because I still want to prep for that. And Khalil Wilson said, no rush. No, I got you, Khalil. Of course, I totally understand that. But, you know, we're going to have – it's the off season. We're going to have some fun. But as we get closer to that, right, I'm going to give you guys my legit – like we're going to lock it in as we get closer. We're going to definitely lock it in, especially during, like, you know, training camp and preseason. We're going to lock it in once we get closer to that. But we should definitely do a way too early mock 53-man cut down and a 65-man cut down. Eagle Slayer says we should make an 11-on-11 as well. Okay. You guys are simply just giving me content. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate it so much. But there you have it, you guys. That is today's show. That's today's show. Now, the work is not done yet for the Philadelphia Eagles. Just because draft day is over, just because you've pulled a lot of bodies from the undrafted rookie pool, just because you've found maybe a gem in Mekhi Becton, maybe. Just because you've done all that doesn't mean the work is done, Eagles fans. The work is not done. No matter what team you support, the work is not done for none of these organizations. You got to dig deeper to the rookie pool, the undrafted rookie pool. There's still some free agents that are on the market still that may that are still looking for jobs. There may be situations where the Eagles maybe can trade for a player that can add to their roster. Remember how they traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson in 2022. Remember how they brought in James Bradbury when he was a good player. So the work is not done. There's so much left to do, so many stones still left unturned, but the Philadelphia Eagles have put themselves in a prime position to win. And I love what they've done to fortify this roster for the now and for the future. I love what they've done to fortify that DB room, bringing in legitimate, talented players that we can all say without a shadow of a doubt we tip our hat off to. So it's going to be exciting to see the level of competition and how it's brewing in OTAs and training camp and rookie mini camp, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be so exciting. And the joint practices. All this stuff is going to be so exciting to watch, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. But today's show, unfortunately, must come to an end. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter, follow me on the socials, retweet, like, share it. Whatever you got to do to spread the word, keep smashing that like button. All that stuff is currency. So again, I say, I'm your humble and gracious host, Tone DeShields II. And you guys have been locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.